Supposed to get ready for this hunt for this young man here. We gotta get our gear all set. Head out probably about 5 in the morning, so we should give us enough time to get there before daylight. There, it's up to you guys.
So we'll wake up pretty early. I like to wake up like 3 o'clock myself.
So from there, we go to Tim's. After that, we hit the mountain.
Make sure everything's clean, your gear, your rifle's nice and clean. You want to have a backfire, misfire. Safety first out there when we go out there. It's a dangerous place and you're a long way from home, so you got to be prepared. Have the ammo ready, usually 270 or 308, 30-06, yeah.
That's the most important thing you got to wear out there. Hunter's orange.
To say one of us went in there and then you're expecting the moose to come out. What if your buddy comes out with no hunter's orange on? It's going to be gone.
That happened to me a couple of years ago, and I saw a cow up on the side of the mountain. And at the bottom of my scope, I noticed this guy moving up. I took my gun away. He had no hunter's orange on.
Really?
None at all. He had camel gear. That's the importance of wearing that orange. So you'll know that somebody's there. So when we get up to the mountain, and we do our ceremony and make our offering at the bottom before we go way up. This is part of the process that our people did a long time ago.
Prior to the 1920s, the Mi'kmaq hunted and fished and gathered the way they always did, supplying food for their family, gathering materials to trade.
In my days, my father and my mother, every morning my father went out to hunt, looking for food for today's meal.
I grew up with my grandparents. I started trapping when I was 12 years old, and I'm 71. People always showed me what's enough. I mean, what to take and what not to take, and when you meet your quota or whatever. I think they all had a plain idea what you only need. So I learned early that half a dozen eels was just good for our family, but maybe take 3 or 4 more. Or, for another family.
To share everything. And, this is what's been passed on to us. We have to provide for those who cannot provide for themselves. And then we have to understand that the resource we're taking has to be used to its maximum capacity.
I'm not going to take a forbearing animal for its fur alone, I think the meat and whatever uses you can take from it.
So we'll use the antlers, we'll use the hooves, we'll use the hide, and the meat. So very little is left. And what we do leave there is left for the eagles and the crows and the ravens to feed off, and the coyotes and bobcats. So very little, if anything, has gone to waste.
You would not want to waste them because you have they're valuable to you. I guess it's a native way, we call it a native way, a second nature to us. When we take ownership or we claim ownership of anything, we like to preserve it, we like to protect it, we like to nourish it, we like to provide for it in the same way that it provides for us.
In the 1920s, Nova Scotia enacted the first wildlife and game laws. So it was really the first time that things like licenses and seasons and bag limits started coming into play. Many elders in the communities had still hunted, had still fished, had still gathered, had still kept the traditions alive. Oftentimes they had to do it in secret. Oftentimes they had to do it, dodging DNR or dodging DFO.
I used to hunt with some older folks, Raymond Cope and Arthur Cope, and they were always kind of like outlaws in their old days. They hunted moose, they shot deer, and they understood they had rights, and operated under the radar of the authority by hunting and fishing and gathering, and just taking it home and feeding and sharing it to the people. And that's the way we hunted. We were in the woods. If we'd see a stranger, we'd just kind of run like the deer and hide, or just be not seen.
The ceremonies that we do beforehand, that has to be done too.
Yeah.
Your offerings, yeah. We pray. We ask these animals to present themselves to us. We make that offering of our food, tobacco, or drink, whatever we have there. We offer a bit of that. But we always acknowledge the ancestors who have gone before us. The ones in the east, this is where the children sit. The same with the south, where the women sit. And in the west is where the men sit, the protectors, the providers. That's their duty. And in the north, that's the elders. That's the elders. We honor these people. They're the reason why we're here today. These people who have gone before us, our ancestors. Nova.
Gabriel Sillaboy, who was Grand Chief at the time, was up hunting muskrat in Cape Breton, like he always did, and was charged by DNR officers at the time. From then on, it was a constant battle between the Mi'kmaq and the Crown.
It was illegal for us to hunt, illegal for us, in essence, to be a Mi'kmaq person.
Finally, in the 1980s, with the changes to the Constitution, Jimmy Simon was out hunting deer. Was charged by DNR officers for hunting without a license, and finally the treaties went back to court.
So it was very much a tense time between provincial government and enforcement officers and the Mi'kmaq, because the provincial policies didn't recognize Mi'kmaq hunting, and the Mi'kmaq were very much asserting and defending their treaty rights.
In 1990 was the moose case. The Mi'kmaq finally decided that no, there was a right for the Mi'kmaq to go up to Hunter's Mountain and hunt moose. The Grand Council and the bands at that time said, we're going to go up and hunt.
The chiefs that gathered around told us to go up there and do the hunt, get charged, so we can take the matter into court and deal with it.
First day that they had gotten up here, DNR was ready for them.
You could see just a little ways from where you're standing at, you could see the officers were looking right at us, so we knew we were going to won't get checked anyway.
There were 20 to 30 individuals charged. The case went to court, but eventually was dropped because the province finally realized that no, the Mi'kmaq did have the rights to do what they wanted to do. So at that time is when the Mi'kmaq really gained the right to come up to Hunter's Mountain and start harvesting moose.
I sat on the committee with the chiefs. I was a chieftain. We talked about tags and seasons, and the chiefs agreed to sign an agreement with the province on hunting moose. We brought back a number of tags to each community. We held a meeting with the hunters and said, anybody wants to hunt moose, here's a tag. You can go up for a week or a weekend, and if you're successful, great. If not, just pass your tag on to somebody else.
When we first started to hunt, it was really good, and like we got around the reserve and we talked about who was going to go.
It was a communal type hunt.
And everybody enjoyed it.
That whole feeling up there at that time was, you know, here we are exercising a newly recognized right that we always had, and we're actually hunting for our community, not for individual needs, but for our community needs. You could see it in everybody. They were actually doing something that they're meant to do.
In the Donald Marshall Jr. case, Donald Marshall Jr. was simply looking for a way, again like his ancestors had done, to earn a living and help support his family off the world around him. Again, that ends up in court.
I guess after Marshall and the recognition to fish commercially also applied to hunting and gathering. You know, it commodified a lot of products in the woods. And it began to become individual.
Back then it was all about money. If I can get $200 or $300 for an animal, then I would shoot, you know, 40 or 50. That's what the mentality was of some of the hunters.
This was a dangerous place to be in hunting season. There were people everywhere. There were lifeguard chairs bolted to the back of pickup trucks with people with rifles on top of them driving up and down the roads, shooting at anything that would appear to be a moose.
To hear of some hunters taking 60 and 70 moose out of the highlands and then just selling them outright, or just taking out the trophy, was too hard. It was too hard.
There were injury and death of hunters.
There was a long period of time where nobody, non-Mi'kmaq or Mi'kmaq, were hunting, and then that started again. And I think part of what happened then, because to some extent the traditions had been lost.
We had individuals up here in Toyota Corollas and sneakers trying to get a moose and trying to find a way to take it home. It was chaos. Within 2 years, None of that was happening anymore. Once the Mi'kmaq said, this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to do it, and this is how we're going to start educating and telling our people that we want the hunt to happen, within 2 years, this became a very nice place for people to be during the hunting season. And I think government looked at that and said, that is remarkable.
It's like what that old man told me in Newfoundland. Chief Mizel Joe's father. Noel Joe is his name. He said these guys that call themselves hunters today are nothing but murderers. He said anybody can kill an animal, but do they know what that animal does? Have they actually hunted that animal? And it made me think, what do I know about that animal? You know, what kind of a call to use? Where is he going to run to? Where does he hang out at? Those are the things we need to know. Learning his behaviors, become the animal. This whole process that we have to undergo so that the animal doesn't suffer. It's an honorable kill. Make sure that when we hit him in the heart or the head. We might just wound the animal and now we have to go look for him. Put him down on one spot or just maybe have to travel a couple of 100 feet to get him, but we don't want to be chasing the moose all day because it's too hard.
So you can put him out before
Yeah.
any misery could come.
Yeah.
In the most respectful kind of way.
Exactly, yeah. Because that way there the animal doesn't suffer.
Then the work begins. That's where the work really begins.
I know that, gee. Last time I got yeah.
But you know the process. Huh?
Yeah, I know the process now. I watched you lots of times. It looks so easy because you could just be going through there just like nothing very fast. But once I did it, it was a whole different story. It's like easier watched than done. Like you'll just go through, open that, saw through it and open the moose and get all the guts out and then we're gone looking for another moose. That's me, I cut it open. Had to wait for a while, looked over, opened them up, and then it just took long. By the time there, it started raining, and then Joey had to finish it off.
It was the elder harvesters. They began looking at their own communities and saying, if we as elder harvesters have to, we will do what we can to stop the hunt. They were the ones who went in to their chiefs and councils, and they went in to Charlie Dennis at Unama'ki Institute of Natural Resources, and they said, we don't like what's happening out there.
They said, at the rate we're going now, there is a lack of respect for the resource in some of our hunters, not all. And there's also a behavior by some of our hunters that's not conducive to sustainability.
It's not respectful. It's not sustainable. Really, it's not Mi'kmaq.
Eventually, what come out of it was the Moose Management Initiative. The chief said, we want you to go to the communities and ask two basic questions. How would you like to see the Mi'kmaq involved in the management of moose? Also ask the question, what do you have to contribute?
So that's what started a number of years of community work, of talking to people and getting from them, how do you want something like a moose harvest to go.
So after we went to the communities, it formed the basis of what guidelines should look like. The first round, there was a little bit of mistrust. People didn't know who we were working for. It took a good couple of years for the communities to realize that, hey, this is our management plan. This is something that's coming from our communities.
When we were in Member 2, an individual said, you know, what you should really do is you should bring all of us together. And so what we created was the Moose Symposium in Wagmatcook.
There were 4 basic questions that needed to be looked at very seriously, and decisions had to be made.
The non-native accompaniment issue, setting up hunter advisory committees on the communities.
The seasonality, when should we be harvesting moose and when shouldn't we be up there harvesting moose.
And the idea of livelihood. For 2 days, the delegates from all over Nova Scotia debated these particular issues.
And what came out of that was the finalization of our guidelines.
And what the guidelines contained was clear indications from the Mi'kmaq community that safety was important, that the safety rules that applied to the hunt should apply to the Mi'kmaq. Mi'kmaq should not hunt from January 1st to August 15th. The non-native accompaniment question was important, and that it should only be family members, and even then non-natives should not be actively shooting animals, and really spelling out the idea that hunter advisory committees would eventually be set up in all the communities. The final element was the idea of livelihood. If it's a very healthy moose herd and things are going well, then absolutely livelihood should be included. If the moose are in trouble and we need to be careful about it, then we need to reevaluate whether people should be hunting for livelihood. The vast majority of people said, right on.
When I saw the Mi'kmaq guidelines for hunting, it was really a culmination of a lot of work, a lot of collaboration. Parks Canada, UINR, and the provincial agencies set together to study moose collaboratively, to share all the information. And when I saw that document on moose guidelines, I really thought it was an important moment.
Showing that tangible progress that proved to everybody, the participants themselves and the people outside, that collaboration can work and that improvements can be made.
And it's now the Mi'kmaq who are taking the lead only because our community members spoke up and said, now is the time for changes in the Highland, now is the time to make these important decisions today so that the next 7 generations will be positively impacted by our decision.
It's been true collaboration. Everyone brought something to the table, and everyone gained something. But really, who gained was the moose.
Yeah. And when you make that kill, you know, we go up and we smoke with the animal, tobacco around them, and we ask for forgiveness for what we did.
So here we have an animal that presented itself as a result of our prayers. So immediately we pray for the spirit of the animal. Here you'll see Danny sets the tone for a pipe ceremony with the animal. There was a circle of tobacco laid down around the animal. Smoke from the pipe, you breathe it into the animal's chest. We touch the animal, let it know that we accept your gift. And what you are doing, you're releasing the soul.
Your spirit going back.
So as harvesters, this animal was taken, and we have to do everything that we can to ensure that the spirit of this animal is aware that we respectfully harvested you on behalf of our people.
We ask that forgiveness from the spirit world. We ask that forgiveness from that animal. That's important. What do you think about all the time we took you out there? You think you can manage now?
Yeah. So I seen you shoot the moose, and I skinned it and gutted it. Just need my Spartan back in case I miss it.
We're going to be there as backup. You'll have a couple other guns there just in case, but it's your first moose. It's your next step.
Instead of thinking, yeah, this is going to be my first moose getting outside like that, I'm going to be thinking of like respecting it, how to put it down as fast as I can. Mm-hmm. That's the only way I know how to hunt it.
Exactly. He's ready.
The biggest thing about this initiative is the Mi'kmaq have really stood up in the communities. They stood up and they said, now is the time for us to retake our role as stewards. It is the responsibility of their Aboriginal people to take care of the land, to take care of Mother Earth, and to pass these teachings on.
The amount of people that were against the guidelines or felt that no guidelines were necessary started changing their minds, because they started saying, you know, the hunt now is a hunt that I'm proud of. It's a hunt that I can take my children up to. It's a hunt that elders feel they can go up to because it's safe and it's respectful.
So another thing we're doing this year with harvesters is bringing out an education plan through our harvester education program. And the big issue, the new information we're bringing to our harvesters is the non-lead hunting alternatives. Harvesting animals with lead bullets leaves toxic traces of lead in the meat and in the gut piles, which seriously affects human health, but also contributes to the sickness and death of the birds of prey, especially the eagles. We're asking our harvesters to look at alternatives to stay away from lead bullets as they harvest not only moose but other animals. North of the Cape Breton Highlands National Park, there's a beautiful landscape. Paulette's Cove, Aspie Fault, wilderness area. People were using all-terrain vehicles to take moose out of there, and it was a real dangerous practice. We're willing to work with the locals, we're willing to work with government, and we're willing to work within our communities to ensure that ATVs will not be used by anybody in this area. Through its protection, we are keeping out machines such as the all-terrain vehicles, which stand to impact permanent damage to this beautiful ecosystem. Another big thing we do up in the Cape Breton Highlands, and everybody looks forward to it, is our annual Feast in the Highlands.
The feast is usually good, and you get a whole bunch of hunters and there's round, and we always invite people.
Everybody that's older than me can go first.
We have Mi'kmaq harvesters, non-Mi'kmaq harvesters, contractors, enforcement officers, natural resource managers. We have elders and youth and everybody in between come up, and we have a traditional feast right there.
Everyone look here. And here.
We also have the youth hunts where communities get together and they bring youth and elders together, and there's a magic that happens. They go up there and they do their best to harvest moose on behalf of their community.
When the young youths came up to do the hunt, they usually have the elders up there with them. And that kind of helped them how to do the moose hunt, how to clean the moose.
We camp up there, and half we go out in the woods, rain or shine or snowing. We teach them how to skin the moose and clean the moose hide. Messy job, but they do it. They don't mind it. They really want to learn. And some of us really hate to go when Sunday comes, because we enjoy it so much.
I think the very fact that they come here, that they're here, and they sit down and they listen and they put their hands into the activities that are provided by the elders, tells me that, yes, they are absolutely willing and wanting to learn and have that care within them. The future doesn't look that bad with them.
Ever since I can remember, I always like being out in the woods. I learn new things every time when I go up there. The first time I went, I got addicted to it, like I wanted to go all the time then. You're killing the moose. That's what happens. But once you do get your moose, you got to treat it with like respect. A lot of respect, because that was another life he took. Every time I'll get one, I'll distribute the meat to show respect for that moose. You distribute its meat amongst your community, making it a part of your community. Elder is pretty much first. Gives them like a good feeling because they know this way hasn't been lost. I was born to do this type of thing because I broke away from sports. I love doing that, but I like this more. I really do, because it makes me feel like more back with like my ways, more back with the roots that I have, and get to keep those things going so they're not forgotten. I get to keep it going the right way.